Hi folks, so this video is our April spring vlog, and as many of you will know, April is a really busy month when it comes to the garden and growing. So this month's vlog is a little bit different to my normal style, and I haven't had time to film as much as I normally do throughout the month. So instead, today we're going to take you around and basically give you an update on all the things that have changed the most over the last 4 weeks for us here. And one of the things that we have been enjoying massively over the last 2 or 3 weeks is all this beautiful blossom in the food forest. This beautiful tree here, which is looking amazing, is a cherry tree. And over the last few weeks, all of our apple trees have been in full bloom. This is actually the first of our apple trees to blossom. This one is an Irish peach, and you can actually see now we have got apples forming up where some of the blossoms were. And then our later apple trees are now in full blossom as well. We're really happy to see this little Braeburn tree having a really good go this year. This tree has had a bit of a hard start. It was a bit unstable for its first few years, and I think we are still talking about maybe putting a stake in that one. We tend not to stake trees unless we really have to help them get their roots more established on their own. But yeah, I think that one got tunnelled underneath by a mole, and so it set it back a bit in its early years. This tree here, this is another apple, and it is looking absolutely stunning. This is an interesting apple tree. This one is both tip and spur bearing, I believe. I think it's called Ellison Orange. Absolutely amazing. And then we've got 2 more apple trees in full bloom. And just every time I come into the food forest, I am just finding I keep getting lost in the beauty of it all and the smell of the blossom. And in the mornings when the sunlight hits all of these trees, it just looks absolutely stunning. So yeah, another apple here. That's our most productive apple that we've had so far. And then this beautiful tree here, which isn't normally as productive, but it might well be this year because it is absolutely covered in blossom. And another really exciting thing that has been happening for us this month is that this little patch here that I inoculated with wine cap mushrooms back in May last year began fruiting a couple of weeks ago. Now I can't actually show you any mushrooms growing in the ground right now because I harvested them all last night and we had them for dinner, and it was absolutely amazing. So we have been enjoying about 3 or 4 small harvests from this patch, and hopefully they'll continue to spread, and hopefully the other 2 beds that we've got of wine caps will start producing soon as well. All of the gooseberries have been covered in flowers, and yeah, I can see now we're starting to get tiny baby gooseberries forming up on the bushes. The strawberries are looking great. Another new addition for the food forest over the last few weeks has been a row of asparagus, which I've put in all along here, where you can see where the sticks are in the ground. So they're just dotted along this hedge line. And actually I noticed yesterday, if we come down to this one down here, being careful not to stand on too many strawberries, I've got my first little asparagus just poking through there. Now obviously we won't be harvesting from these for probably at least 2 years yet, but that is pretty exciting to see. And we've got 3 different varieties along this hedge here, so it's going to be really interesting to see if any produce better for us. Solomon seal looking amazing. Love that. We've got to duck down through a lot of these branches, which we keep meaning to prune off a lot of the lower branches of these trees, but we'll get to it, we'll get there. And then this area, it looks a bit empty at the moment, but all the raspberries are coming back up through from where I cut them back. So this area will be tall with raspberries in the not so distant future. And we've got some St. John's wort here as well, which I planted 3 little clumps of St. John's wort last year, and I'm really happy to see this coming back through. That's a really useful medicinal herb, so yeah, hopefully I'll get a bit of a harvest from that this year. But yeah, everything in the food forest is just really coming to life. This little Szechuan pepper tree is looking amazing. This is really starting to take hold now. We have got another one that we've got to plant because we lost the original second one that we had in. And if you want to see more on our food forest, we did do a tour video about 3 weeks ago, so I'll link that one in here and you can check that video out too. This whole area here we have been working on over the last couple of weeks, and we have turned it all over to perennial vegetables, and we're going to be sharing more on that in another video soon, so keep your eyes open for that one. And then up into our main growing area. So these poor peas here were one of my first planting outs of the season, and we have had so much wind over the last few weeks. They have been absolutely battered, and we've lost quite a few. We had some slug damage early on, but yeah, we've lost a few plants, but there are a few hanging on in there, so hopefully we will get some recover and make it through, because this is a beautiful purple pea variety which is quite rare, and I just normally save my own seed each year, so if nothing else, hopefully we'll have enough to save seed. So since we were last up here, we have done a few more plantings out. Onions. I have got a whole bed of onions which have gone in here. I'll just pull the cover back a little bit to show you. And the covers have been really useful actually, this style of cover in particular. This is Thermocrop, because it gives a little bit of wind protection, and like I was just saying, that has been really helpful over the last few weeks. Those onions were planted out about 2 weeks ago, so they're just starting to settle in. And you can see over this side here, where we just had the black net, which we put on for bird protection mainly, as well as the Thermocrop adds some good wind protection. But the main reason why we net at this time of year is to just stop the birds scratching the little plants out. But this one here doesn't offer really any wind protection. And these kohlrabi, again, have had a really hard time settling in because of the high winds that we've had. So they're getting there though, but it's just been a bit slower than we would have liked. Under this net here, this was my first outdoor, one of my first outdoor sowings of carrots and spring onions, and then also my first outdoor planting of salads. And you can see actually some of the salads are coming on really well. It won't be too long until we can start picking off some of the smaller leaves. The spring onions are looking good. The carrots are quite patchy though, and actually I think what's happened there is I think that is mainly a little bit of slug damage because there had been a lot more come through. They had germinated really quite evenly. So that is interesting to see. Again, this cloth here, this will give a little bit of wind protection, which is probably why those salad leaves have done okay. Beetroot over here, again, struggling just a little bit because of the wind. And then if we go right down this way, we've got a few elephant garlics here looking absolutely ginormous. I mean, just look at the size of that stem. It's amazing. So yeah, a couple of elephant garlics at the front there. And then all of this bed is our French garlic. Really happy with how it is looking. It is coming on beautifully. And then under this cover here, this was my second outdoor sowing of salad. And these salad leaves were sown just a few weeks after the ones that I showed you under the green net. There's a few weeds coming through here, so I need to get in and have a little bit of a tidy up of these beds. But yeah, they're coming along nicely. Really happy with how they are settling in, so that's great. It's perfect timing because one of the jobs we're going to be doing probably over the next few days to a week at the most is changing over our polytunnels. So we've still got amazing amounts of salad in the tunnels right now, which I'll show you in just a second, but any day soon we're going to have to do the big changeover. So we'll head up this way. I'm not sure where we've lost Murph to. Murphy! Come on, boy! Come on, boy! See if we can get him to come with us. We're still cropping our leeks from over here. Some of them are just starting to run to seed, but they're actually fine. Even when the centre stem starts going a little bit harder, you can still use them. They taste absolutely perfect still. There we are, look, there's one just sending up its flower. And you can actually harvest these flower scapes separately if you like to, much like I do with the hard neck garlics. But yeah, we've got plenty of leeks, more than enough there. This is my parsnips from last year, and I always leave a good amount in, and then they're going to run to seed soon enough because I always save my own parsnip seed. So we have still got quite a bit of work to do in these beds. There's always weeding and tidying to do. We're always behind. This is probably our next big job here, clearing out this bed. I'll be planting courgettes in the front. As you can see at the back, all of the Jerusalem artichokes are coming through again now. This is my main elephant garlic bed here, and then around the edges to help with weed pressure, we've got mashua planted. Mashua is in the same family as nasturtium. You can probably recognise the leaf. And these leaves we harvest for salads at this time of year. And then later on in the year or in the winter, you can harvest their big white tubers as well for a great winter harvest. Come on, Murphs, come on. Here he comes. So yesterday, I had a big sort out of our compost. I dug out all the compost that we had ready. So we've got about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bags of compost that I cleared from our compost bay. And then I turned the 2 bays that we have currently got resting. And then we're about to start a new batch of compost in here. So yeah, our homemade compost is been a real game changer, I think, this year from what I'm seeing in our polytunnels. And probably the best thing that has happened over the last few weeks since we last filmed a vlog is this amazing new gate that we have finally put in here. We have been just climbing over a fence for the last 3 years probably, with the intention of always putting a gate here. And Dan has made this beautiful hardwood gate, and it's all well, other than the chicken wire, the wood is all reclaimed materials. It's these hardwood pallets which he manages to get hold of, and then just uses things like this that we make into our latches. So it's just the metal in the middle that was new on here. And we've got this extension at the top because we probably will at some point add another piece of chicken wire just to lift the height for deer, because deer could still jump this fence, but we haven't had any problems with deer for quite a while, so we'll get to that when we get to it. But yeah, it is such a solid gate, absolutely solid, and it is one of those jobs that now we've done it, it's like, why didn't we do that 2 years ago and make our life so much easier? It is an absolute game changer and kind of a relatively simple thing.
Why has it got the concrete at the bottom?
Oh yeah, so the concrete at the bottom as well. Good point. This is to stop the rabbits digging underneath. So yeah, that's another little trick that Dan has learned over the years. Rabbits or anything else digging out underneath. So yeah, perfect. The new raised bed garden is coming on really nicely. Dan has added a little flower border here. I think this is going to be cannas and probably bananas growing up shortly. Actually, I can see we've got some cannas coming through here already. They're just starting to pop through. Another job that we must get around to is taking this net off now. This has been here since before this hedge grew up. So yeah, we must do that. That's just a little tidying up job. The raised beds are coming on really well. So we've just got these two planted up at the moment. Again, same time as the sowing that I just showed you in the ground. Same day, I sowed spring onions and the same two varieties of carrots. And contrary to what some people have said on the comments of our raised bed video, we have had virtually no slug damage in this bed to the carrots. So yeah, so far that is looking like a really big advantage. This bed here, which is our mixed bed, which we are seeing how much we can grow in a small space, has literally leapt into life over the last week or so. We've got, again, I've got carrots, 2 rows of carrots here, looking much stronger than the ones in the ground. We've got spring onions. These spring onions were transplants rather than seed. We've got radishes, which I sowed from seed, which are going to be ready for harvest in not very long. They're just starting to form up, and radishes grow really fast. Again, salad leaves. These were planted out at the same time as the other outdoor ones, and they are quite a bit further ahead. We could actually start harvesting some of the bigger leaves from here now. Coriander, very nearly ready to harvest. Dill, very nearly ready to harvest. These beetroots, again, the beetroots are looking much stronger than the ones in the ground, and I'm not too sure why that is here, because I don't think that this area is any more protected from the wind than it is in our main growing area, so maybe just a little bit more warmth being in the raised bed. Again, these peas have had a little bit of a hard time because of the wind. I must try and attach them onto these frames properly, because they're forever getting blown off. Our peas, actually, we've got another big planting of peas down lower on another bed, and where that is a lot more protected from the wind, those peas are doing a lot better. This is garlic kale, which I'm trying for the first time. And again, I've got some planted here in this raised bed, and I put a couple into our net house, and the ones in the raised bed are 4 times the size and the health of the ones in the ground. We did put a really good layer of our own homemade compost just below the surface here. So I can only assume that perhaps that is some of the extra goodness that it is getting. And then over here, we have got our first sowing of outdoor potatoes, which are coming on strongly. We had some cold weather over the last couple of weeks, and I was worried that as they were just starting to come out that they may have had a little bit of frost damage, but we narrowly managed to avoid any frosts here, and they have been great. Dan has just been earthing these up today, giving them their first mound up of compost, so he's kind of halfway through that job at the moment. This was the first planting. We would have put these in at the very end of March, and then this was the second planting, which we did probably about 10 days later, and you can see they are just starting to come through as well, and they're all different varieties of Sarpo range of potatoes. So tunnel 1, let's have a little look in here. So we're kind of starting the clear down in this tunnel, ready for the summer crops to come in. The salad is still doing amazingly well. Some of the varieties are starting to run to seed. Some of them, like this one here, are just looking absolutely beautiful still. It is always a bit of an emotional time when I have to take the salad out to replace the tomatoes, and we're probably only around about a week off until that is going to happen. So what I'm thinking I might try and do though is, you know, leave the odd plant in and plant the tomatoes around just to help give us a bit of a changeover period, so we've still got lots of salad to harvest whilst the outdoor plants are getting bigger. This side, the parsley at the top of this tunnel has been absolutely supersized. I've been giving bunches of parsley to anybody that I see. I have dehydrated a massive jar of parsley to keep for the winter, and I still have barely even started on the curly parsley, the moss parsley, which is just, the colour of it is stunning. It looks amazing. And then just in the nick of time over this side, our broad beans are starting to form up. So it's the first time I've grown broad beans undercover for an early harvest. And yeah, we're hoping to have a harvest from these before the middle of May, which is normally when we plant up this tunnel. But if we can pull it forward a few weeks, depending on the weather ahead, we always do. So I'm feeling pretty confident that we are going to get a harvest from these plants. This will probably be the last side that I clear out in this polytunnel, and then it will be replaced with aubergines and sweet peppers mainly, and we're going to have melons as the ground cover this year. So got a bit more clearing out to do here. I've been slowly working my way up and clearing anything that I won't be harvesting anymore. We are still harvesting spinach from in here. We had some beautiful spinach with our dinner last night with our gorgeous wine cap mushrooms. So yeah, that is what's happening in tunnel 1. Let's go and look next door. Okay, into polytunnel 2, and this is where we are growing our early crop of new potatoes, and we are going to be harvesting our first lot of new potatoes from this side here. This is Swift's, and we're probably going to start harvesting it in the next few days. We'll give this side maybe another week or so at the most. They are actually starting to flower, which is a really good sign on this side. And yeah, we'll be sharing more about our early potato harvest in another video as well, so stay tuned for that one. And then hopefully this afternoon, if the sun doesn't come back out, we're going to be getting in this polytunnel and remaking this bed through the middle here. Fresh compost is going to be going down, and we may even start planting out tomatoes. If not today, then it will be over the next couple of days in this tunnel. We have tomatoes in both these two tunnels through the middle, different varieties. So yeah, fingers crossed. We've still got a lot of work to do over this weekend. And then finally for today, we'll come down into tunnel 3, which is our propagation tunnel. We've got all of Dan's taro in here, which will be planted out probably again around the middle of May, which is our last frost date here in the south. And then the propagation is coming on pretty well. We have got plants everywhere in this place right now. So I'll get some of these covers off and I can share what is happening. Okay, so here we have got mainly melons in this tray. There are a couple of cucumbers and loofahs, and I'm just at the moment debating whether I'm going to pot these on or whether we're just going to get them planted straight out. So again, we'll see what the next couple of days holds in terms of how much we can get through, and also then how the weather is looking. So they've got a little bit of damage on some of the leaves because I had them in the propagator lids to start with and the plants were getting a bit big, so they got a little bit burnt, but that will be fine. Over the back here I have got all of our courgettes and winter squash that are just coming through. I sowed these on the 17th of April, so they are shooting along. We've got super sweet corn here. I've got some marigolds I'm growing on, which I actually had really patchy germination from, so we may still have to buy a few marigolds in for companion plants with our tomatoes. We've got aubergines looking amazing here. There's a few peppers. This is a yellow pepper, Asti, which I have grown for about the last 3 or 4 years. We get pretty good results from. This is some of our rise and tube tomatoes that go in our second tunnel. And again, we had a little bit of damage from the leaves getting burnt where they got too big for the propagator lids. This tray here is painted mountain corn, which we are trying for the first time this year. And it is growing really strongly, so really impressed with that one. We've got some mixed trays here. Okra, which is something, it's a bit of a novelty thing that I like to grow in the polytunnel to add to curries and things like that. I've got pink rainbow or pink chard, which I just couldn't resist the beautiful pink stem, so that will be going in soon. We have got Mexican sunflowers here, which I grew a few of those last year for the first time to add to the food forest. Adds great colour. You can use them for chop and drop. Just another nice thing to add in. We've got basil coming through. Another tray of peppers and aubergines here. This is a mixture of sweet peppers and then hot peppers. Yeah, more aubergines. These kales were ones that I took. This is perennial kale that I did cut-ins from our existing plants, and I always notice in the polytunnel they go a little bit pale. I don't think they really like the heat of the tunnel, but I'm just waiting for them to get nicely rooted and then I will get those planted out mainly into the food forest. We've got some more of the garlic kale, and again you see the same thing. After so long in the polytunnel the leaves start just going a little bit light, so I will get those out as soon as possible. These are some free plants. These are free nasturtiums. So the nasturtiums always self-seed in my polytunnel every year, and for some reason I've never managed to get them planted up in the food forest. So I dug up a few little plants and I'm just waiting for them to get rooted, and these will be being transplanted into the food forest. We've got more mixed trays here. We've got more spring onions ready to go out. I didn't have very good germination with these globe artichokes. I only had 2 germinate, so that was new seed bought this year as well. So hopefully we'll have a couple to plant out. We've got leeks that are just coming through. Again, slightly patchy germination, so I may do a second sowing before the end of this month. Some more herbs, parsley, some asparagus that I'm trying from seed, a mixture of random greens here, celery, parsley, strawberry spinach, which looks like it's desperate to come out of those plugs as well. It's another thing I was going to try in the food forest. There is so much going on. This is our main our main trays of tomatoes here. We've got several different varieties of tomatoes, and as you can see, they are ready to go. They are desperate to get in the ground. So this is why we are super keen. If the weather is good to us, we're hoping to get these tomatoes planted out really in the next week, if not the next few days. So yeah, that is our update for April. I hope you have enjoyed seeing what's been growing and changing here over the last 4 weeks since our last vlog. If you've enjoyed this video, as always, please give it a thumbs up. It helps us massively. Drop your comments and questions down below. We love hearing from you guys, and we look forward to catching you here again really soon. Thanks for watching. Peace and plants.